Hi class, in this video we're going to take a look at WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation. We've been using so far Windows Forms or WinForms, and when we use Windows Forms we have a lot of tools and capabilities at our disposal, but the product that we create is specific to Windows and only runs on a Windows platform. We have other capabilities, of course, with C#. We've just been using WinForms. We use the Windows Form Designer and that generated code, and we have some pixel-based resolution. I guess I don't know really what else to call it, but an older style. And then WPF, Windows Presentation Foundation, is different in that it's designed to run on multiple platforms. Instead of using the Windows Form Designer code, it uses XAML, and XAML is a little bit more cross-platform. It is a markup language very similar to XML, really easy to understand. WPF itself is vector-based, so it's resolution independent, so we can display the same form on multiple platforms, again just giving us more capabilities, more flexibility. This is the WPF we're going to create, the WPF app we're going to create, a quick registration form. It's going to have some checkboxes and some radio buttons like that last one that we created. Let's take a quick look at it. So I've got Visual Studio open, and I'm going to create a new project. Get it over here for you. And a WPF application has its own template. So I'm going to look through my templates and choose WPF App, and I want to save this here, and I will call it registration form. Now when our WPF app gets generated, you'll see that it looks a little different. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my practice projects folder. Okay, so I still have my toolbar area, my toolbox, and I have my properties and of course my Solution Explorer window, my normal things here. But in the middle of the screen, my designer is a little different. My Forms Designer now is showing design mode of the XAML code, and here's the XAML code down in this window. You can see I can resize this window just like other windows in Windows. Now XAML is, like I said, like HTML or XML, any markup language type language where it has a begin tag and an end tag. Here's our window begin tag, and here's our window end tag. Let's go ahead and run this application. You can see it just displays that blank window. It's all working, not doing much, right? On our window itself, we can look at the properties. And our properties window, again, looks a little bit different than it does when we're working with the Windows Form Builder tools. We do have some of the same options, though, as far as how we sort things. Right now, things are arranged by category. I could arrange them by name or source. So for my window, I think that I want to change the title. Instead of saying main window, I'd like for it to say registration form. Now, of course, we have lots of other properties that we can work on and set for our window. When I press enter, though, you'll notice that it does change the XAML code for us on the fly. Now, what I would like to change is some of our color options. So I'm going to look at the brush settings. And I'd like our background to be, I'll go with the blue like they like. How's that? And then I think I want my foreground. I'll make it be like a dark blue. How's that? And then I could change any of these other items that I wanted to in my properties. So my brush is just the artistic aspects. Now I'm going to run this again. And there's my form with its nice blue background and its new title. Now for our application here, we need to add a few things, some fields to our form. First, we're going to add a label. So I'm going to grab a label control and just click on my form where I want that dropped. Now with my label, the content property is where I'm going to change the text that displays in the label. So we do have a different property name there for our WPF labels. And I want this one to be a prompt for the name. Now I'd like for it to be a little bit bigger. Where is my font? So many properties. Look at how much capability we have. It does make things a little bit difficult at first to find things. So I'm going to change my sort to name so I can find my font. And I want to set, I'll set it to 14. And then I want to put a text box by this name label. And the text box is where we're going to have people type in their name. So I'll click on that control and click where I want it on the form. Now I would like to name this control. So I'm going to go up to the name property and name it TXT name. And then I'll go back to arrange by category. Here's our common ones. I think instead of the same text box, I want it to say name. Is that how I want it to be? We can change our cursor. We can do all sorts of things with it. Or we could just leave it blank. Let's leave it blank. You decide, it's up to you. Now we've got that text box on our form. Looks great. Underneath our name information, we're going to have the settings to allow our users to select what kind of activities they're going to do. So first we want a group of checkboxes. Remember, checkboxes imply that you can choose more than one. So I'll do a checkbox there. And I want this checkbox to be named. Let's see what we want it to be named. CKEX swim. Now, anything else about this text box? Yes, we would like for its content to be a little bit different. And we want it to say swim $50. Now I want another checkbox. And this checkbox is going to be snorkel. So I'll name it CKEX snorkel. And I want its content to be snorkel. And for snorkel, we're going to charge $25. And then we want one more text box or checkbox, And I want this checkbox to be CKEX dive. And for diving, we're charging $100. Awesome. Now I would like to line these up a little bit better. And I don't have my tools up here. So can I use the format menu? Yeah, I would like to align their lefts. And I'd like to make them the same size. Oops. I'm going to control C that one because my snorkel needs to be a little bit bigger. So I guess what else? They look pretty good. All right, we'll leave them like that. Now for our checkboxes, we want to execute some code when somebody checks one of those checkboxes. So let's get some code going here. This would be our C# code behind file. So I want to actually create a method ourselves that we're going to run when somebody clicks one of these. We'll use the same method for all three. So let's go to our code and create a method ourselves. So I'm going to find our main window there, and I'm going to add our own method to compute the charges. Copying from existing events, we'll put in our parameters. Routed event always is E, so a little bit different than our Windows form. And now in our method, we have our three checkboxes. So we want to do some calculating of our cost for those. So let's create a variable to hold our cost. And then let's check our checkboxes. And of course I could leave the this keyword out. It's totally optional. When we're working with our WPF checkboxes, we're going to be checking for the is checked status, and we are not going to get a Boolean return from that. It's not a Boolean object, so we're going to have to check to see if it is equal to true on our own. If so, we're going to add 50 to our cost. Now, if our snorkel is checked, then we want to add $25 to our cost. And if our dive is checked, we want to add 100. I got some sort of weird curly brace thing. There we go. Now we've got all of this calculating. We don't have any place to output this information. So let's update our form. And in our form down here under the checkboxes, we're going to add a label. And this label is going to say total. Make it a little smaller there. And beside our total, we want a text box. And our text box is going to display that output cost. So let's name it txt bx result. It'll be the result of our calculation. And let's make our initial text be something appropriate. And I do want to align that to the right because it is a money item and we normally have those aligned to the right. So again, I'm going to arrange by name so I can find that text align property. I want it aligned right. I don't think there's anything else that we need there. We have so much customization that we can do. It's just awesome. All right, so there's our result. Let's put that in our code. We named that txtbx result. So after we're through with our if statements, let's set txtbx result.text equal to our cost. We need to convert it to a string, and we want to pass in that currency formatter. Whoops, where am I? Get it, there it is. All right, let's try. Okay, so now I should be able to add, oops, snorkel. Didn't do anything. Do you think that it's not executing our method? Could we check? Let's put a breakpoint here at the beginning of our method and run it again. And if I click, definitely not running the method. Can you think of why? Have you got it? Yeah, you do. It's because we need to associate our method with the event on the form. So I'm going to click on my first checkbox, and instead of looking at properties here, I'm going to look at the event handlers for this. And so in our checked event, we want to execute our method, compute charges. Oh, there it is. But we also want to execute that when they uncheck that button, because we wouldn't want that total to stay the same. So I'm going to copy that. All right, so that's the one that we want to execute. Now what I'd like to do is see if I can select these other two checkboxes. Can we update those properties together? Nope. Won't let us, so we'll have to do each one individually. So I'm going to click on my snorkel. Stop, I don't want to type selected. Snorkel. And in my snorkel, I'm going to do my unchecked and go back to my checked. What a pain, huh? And then you do the same thing for dive. Now, because we're executing our method, whether the checkbox is checked or unchecked, we should be properly calculating the cost for each time. Okay, there's $50, $55, $175. It took it away for my first two, but for my dive, it didn't. So let's check that. On dive, did I not get unchecked? I do have unchecked. Try it again. Seems to be working for everybody. Okay, so we just need to add some radio buttons now for the level of swimmer that we're working with. So let's grab a radio button. Now our radio buttons, if you remember, have to be grouped so that we can control the only one being checked type action. So this one is going to be RAD beginner. And I'm going to go back to our properties and arrange them by category. And our content for this radio button, we want it to say beginner. Now for the radio button, again, I want to look at the methods. And if it gets checked, I want it to execute our method. Now, what about unchecked? Is it going to matter for a radio button? It shouldn't, right? Because they're mutually exclusive. So if you're unchecking one, you're checking another. So we should always be executing our method, our action event, on any sort of update of our radio buttons. Now the second one is going to be RAD advanced. Nope, intermediate. And we want its checked method to be the same. And it's going to take me back over there again. And then I want to go back to my properties and change the content here to say intermediate. And finally, I'm going to add one more. This third radio button is going to be RAD advanced. And we want it to say advanced. And in our action events, we're going to put in that checked event. We should be good to go. Now let's run it and see. Now remember our radio buttons, we should only be able to check one. And it does seem to be working properly. So let's go back. Now the system seems to have properly grouped our radio buttons because they're all executing the same method. I'm going to look at the properties and show you this group name is also something that we could use to tie these three radio buttons together. We could put them in the same group and then they would be known to be related to each other. Let me move you down. There we go. Now the last thing that I want to do on the form is add a message down at the bottom that is going to be kind of our status message that'll have some additional information about their level. So let's call this a label. I'm going to put it up here kind of high, and I want its content to start out. I don't know how we want that to start. What do you think? Empty, I guess. Just a space, and we'll name it LVL output. And let's fix up our code now to use that. We've already got everything in here for our calculating our cost based on our checkboxes. Now we need to add processing in for our radio buttons. So if they chose that they were a beginner, we'll be using again the is checked equal true. Then we are going to charge them a little bit more, $10, and we're going to set our label to say beginner dash dash extra $10 charge. Now if they're not a beginner, we're going to go ahead and use some brackets there in our else clause. If they're advanced, then we want to subtract from the cost. We'll say advanced, discount, $15. Now for our last condition here, we'll add our else and say that we want to set our label equal to an empty string. Looks like I have overtype mode turned on. I do. So I'll turn it off. That's if you accidentally press the insert key, if that's ever gotten to you. Now, once we're done with our if statement, our final if, let's set our text box. Oh, we had that line of code already, don't we? Set it to our, there it is. Now, do I need to move that? Let's check. If I leave it where it is, it's calculating everything in our checkbox properly, but is it adding for our beginner or subtracting for our advanced? Nope, it's not. And that's because we can't execute or update our text box output before we finished calculating our cost. So I'm going to cut that and put it down here after we've finished. And let's run it. Now we should be seeing a change for that beginner. There we go. All right. I'd like to add their name. So let's put that in the text box output. We'll say, hello, whoever you are, put in your name, and then let's add a space. And then we'll add whatever is in our label right now, because we've already built some stuff, right? So let's try it. And it's working pretty well. So that's our first WPF application. Look at the XAML code. You can switch between design mode and XAML mode here with these tabs. We're looking at design mode up above and our XAML mode down below. You could change that setup, that split if you wanted, or collapse the pane. So take control of your environment, learn about it. Creating WPF applications is going to be a pathway for you to creating mobile apps, something that is definitely up and coming. So thank you.